My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for Hannibal Season 2, and this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But when I first watched this season a long time ago, I loved it. I thought it was the greatest season of television I ever watched. And I was hoping it would hold up just as much, because the first season I still liked, but it wasn't as good as I remember. So I'm like, is that going to be the case with the second season? And yes, there's still elements of this season that I think are perfection, that are absolutely brilliant. But there's also some sections of this season that were disappointing. But let's get into the story, because this story is kind of divided into two halves. So the first half focuses on Will in prison, and everything here is just 10 out of 10, just perfection. Absolutely love it. I love how Will thinks that Hannibal did everything, but as everybody starts to doubt him, he begins doubting himself. And it's only when Hannibal's therapist tells him that she believes him that he starts to be more confident in that. And it just, those lines, I believe you, from that person carry so much weight. And how he's just trying to convince people while being stuck inside a cell while every word is getting listened to. And how he's trying to convince Jack and Elena and Bev, and they're all blind to it at first. But then Bev eventually starts to investigate Hannibal, and it gets her killed. And how Will feels responsible for her death in some ways. And I love how everything with Jack and his wife comes into play here, because Hannibal saves her, so Jack is trying as hard as possible to believe that Hannibal is innocent, because he saved his wife. Like, he wants to turn a blind eye. And then I love how Elena starts off on Will's side, but then she starts to kind of lose respect for him and mistrust him, and she transitions into Hannibal's lover eventually. And I thought all of this was great. And there's just so much going on. Like, it's just so loaded with character and plot, and how all this character conflicts coming at play. It's just phenomenal. And it's like a chess game between Will and Hannibal, where you know what they're thinking and what they're trying to do. And it's just like, when Will is trying to get Hannibal killed, I love it. And I love how eventually Will gets proven innocent, and now people think it's either Hannibal or Dr. Chilton. And Will always says the evidence will always point away from Hannibal. So then Hannibal then plants evidence towards the both of them. And you're just like, oh my goodness, that's so smart. And everything with Dr. Chilton, I felt like it had real weight to it. And Miriam was a side character kinda in season 1 a few times, but I really thought her story came into play in this one shocking moment where she kills Dr. Chilton. So the first 7 episodes, perfection. Episode 8, boring as shit. My goodness. Just... Okay, the second half of this season isn't as good. It ends on a really strong note, but getting to that strong note is a bit of a bumpy road. Like Will and Hannibal restarting their therapy, I didn't buy it. And then Will actually coming to kill for Hannibal in some aspects, I also didn't buy that. If it turns out the entire time Will was playing Hannibal, I'd be like, okay, that's great. But the fact that Will calls Hannibal ahead of time saying they know, it's trying to lead you into believing that Will has some sense of loyalty to him. And I just do not buy that. Now, you could say that Will was trying to protect Jack. And if that's the case, I wish they just addressed it more, because especially with the moments between Jack and with Will and Hannibal at the end, I feel like it wasn't there to protect Jack, that it was more out of loyalty to Hannibal. And I just don't buy that. I just don't. The Mason Virgil stuff is fine, but it kind of feels like padded material to add length to this season. It's 13 episodes long, and I feel like it could have easily been 10 episodes, because everything with Will and Hannibal is clearly the focus. And then we just cut to Mason and Margot every now and again, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. Like, it's fine, but it's not as interesting as the main meat of this show. But like, the last episode is just fantastic. Like, the final 20 minutes especially, like, they tell you exactly how it's going to end, with Jack facing off against Hannibal. But even watching this time, I forgot that Abigail was still alive, and that reveal just has so much weight. And she pushes Elena out the window, and Will arrives and he sees Elena, and he goes inside, and it's just a bloodbath. And I do like the confrontation between Elena and Hannibal. Well, he gives her one last chance to turn a blind eye, but even though I don't buy Will coming to kill for Hannibal, the last few minutes just have so much emotional weight here, where you can see that Hannibal has come to kill for Will. And they both kind of betrayed each other. And when Will's just like, you were supposed to leave, you feel his heart break at what's happened to him, to Elena, to Jack, to even Hannibal himself. And then for Hannibal to gut him, and then to kill Elena right in front of him as his revenge. Oh my god, just brilliant. Brilliant. Like, Hannibal did want to run away with Will and Abigail, and for them to have their own little family, and Will didn't allow that to happen, so Hannibal lashed out. So for Will to be like, Abigail's alive, to watching her choke on her own blood in front of him, just so good. Like the first half of the season, perfection. Episode 8 sucks. Episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12, oh good, I like them. They're just not great. Last episode, perfection. Love it. So, yes. In terms of the directing this season, it is so good. How was this a network television show? My goodness, it is horrific. That scene in episode 2, when the guy wakes up and he's stitched to all these different people and he's pulling himself apart. Oh my goodness. And then the acupuncture in the eyes. That's gross. Bev's desk in the observatory, well, it lines up with all these different things of glass. Just so creative, but disgusting. Gideon being fed his own leg as his last meal. Oh my goodness, so gross. Randall's body presented at the museum, well, like, he's on, like, the skeleton of the animal. That's great. And then Mason ripping off his face and feeding it to the dogs. Oh my goodness, like, this show is just brutal and horrific, and it ends in a literal bloodbath. And yeah, like, it is really well directed and really effective at that. Like, it's not just bloody and gross, it's also creative. The sound is fantastic. You know those tubes when you're a kid that, like, you push it together, then you pull it apart, it's just like, I can't make this sound right, but anyways, they used that a lot for the sound effects, and it's really effective. And then I thought the ticking clock in the finale was also great. So it's a really well directed show with some great sound, very well shot. And yeah, let's begin talking about the cast. First with Hugh Dancy, and he is phenomenal here. This is just incredible work. you really feel for him in the first half, and you can just see the weight and just everything this character is going through and how he's changing, and then the emotion in the end, he sells it to you all. Mads Mikkelsen is phenomenal as Hannibal. I didn't mention the fact that I love the fact that he does feed his guests, the victims, and how Jack starts to get suspicious of that. That's a really great element. But Mads Mikkelsen just plays this grotesque monster with such class, and in the end, you really see him kind of turn into like a slasher villain, and I love just watching that desperation, and he sells you on it, and yeah, so good. Lawrence Fishburne gives some of his best work ever here. Amazing work. I also thought Gina Torres does a really good job. Caroline Devanis, who plays Alana, is also really great. She's frustrating, but she's meant to be. Hitina Park as Bev. I thought in like just a couple episodes in this season, I came to care for this character more than I did in all of season 1. I thought, wow, Esparza as Dr. Charlton's really fantastic. Lord Gene Shortesky as Freddy's great. I love how they kind of bring some of Red Dragon into this season without being another direct adaptation. That's great. Catherine Isabel is great as Margot Virgil. Michael Pitt as Mason Virgil is really terrific and really creepy, and I kind of feel like he would have been a good Joker around the time this show came out at. And Eddie Lizard, he does a really great job. He pulls off the role of this mentally ill man incredibly well. But Hannibal season 2 is just top notch for so much of it. It's tense, it's thrilling, it's got you on edge. Just all these characters and their conflict with each other. It's riveting stuff. It ends in a really brutal, heartbreaking manner that is just so incredible. It's got some real horrific moments in it that sounds great. It's incredibly well made, incredibly well acted. I love so much of this season that it really does bum me out. There's just that few episode stretch which is just less than everything else, but I still love this season, so I'll give Hannibal season 2 an 8 out of 10. Okay, did you watch Hannibal season 2? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin